McKay Savage. You have maybe the coolest last name of anyone who's been on the podcast, maybe cooler than mine even.
I don't know about that.
And you are an expert on branding. I'm going to say you're an expert.
Okay, I'll take that.
But what does that mean? Well, what is brand?
Oh, man. I don't know. There's a classic. Who said this? One of the big ones. Bezos or Zuckerberg. Or,
one of the big ones.
It's, one of the big ones. It's like branding is what people say about you when you're not in the room, right? So there's that idea of like, it's kind of amorphous. It's kind of like the feeling of the brand, like of your business.
Mm-hmm.
I like to look at branding as really an extension of how I look at most things in marketing, which is it comes down to just interpersonal communication. And so if you have a brand that's strong enough, it's capable of interacting with a person in the same way that another person can interact with that person, right? So it almost becomes its own entity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a very good definition, but I think it approaches how you should approach your branding, which is make it consistent, make it easy to interact with, make it something that sticks out and resonates with people. And it's not just like your colors and your logo and like everything else that normally would be considered like branding.
It's
right?
not just that I put green in all my podcast stuff. That's not my brand.
That is your brand. I mean, yeah, it's like your brand is green. Congratulations, you did it. No, but like that, I mean, the visual identity of the brand, that's the thing that kind of drew me to branding initially, was this idea of like, okay, like how do these colors make you feel? How do these interact with, how do these represent the brand? But even that saying that, like, how do they represent the brand? Well, what are they representing?
Mm-hmm.
That's really even more of what that brand needs to be, is the feelings that it wants to give people, what it wants to imbue into the service or the product or whatever it is that you're going to be doing. Now, with the advent of things like Liquid Death, I mean, even companies like Apple, like there's some companies that are very brand forward,
mm-hmm.
and Liquid Death is a great example of this, where people, they just have kind of deified it almost, because it's like, it's just water in a can. Like without the brand, it would be nothing, right? And there's truth to that. I don't think every company needs a brand that strong, right? Like I don't necessarily need to be in love with the plumber that comes and like fixes my toilet. I'm not like,
mm-hmm.
this is the plumber, and I'm like posting about it on LinkedIn, like how great it is. At the same time, when you consider, okay, how was my experience with that person? What can I expect going forward? Is that somebody that I want? Do I want someone that's like my neighbor or my friend? Do I want them to have that same experience? That's really what that brand is entailing. And so for them, for like a small business or something like that, they need to be focusing on that element of the brand. It's less about, how we post on social media and like the jokes we make and like all those fun parts of the brand. And it's more about like the customer experience and like being consistent across all of those touch points
mm-hmm.
long term.
Yeah, I think Liquid Death's a great example. And then for my brand, the green actually signifies the impending zombie apocalypse that will be coming October 31st of 2025.
Is that an official?
That's an official announcement. If someone else doesn't make it happen, I will. No, I just like green.
No, I mean, like so one of my favorite books of all time, and it's a little dated, and so I don't want to get in fights about this, but it's The E-Myth Revisited. It's even the revisited version, because there was an older version and then they brought it back and they were like, we're going to update it for like 2003 or something. But they talk a lot about this guy. It's all these different, how to build a business and like how to structure it. And like, it's really good. But he gives a specific example of this barber that he used to go to, where you'd come in and they give you like a cup of coffee, and he like has like a warm towel that he like wipes you down with, and you sit down, and like he knew exactly what to expect every single time. And then the next time he went in, the guy like poured him a glass of Chardonnay and was like, here you go. And then like there was no warm towel, but there was like a massage. And then like all of those things were objectively still good.
Yeah.
But the lack of consistency created this idea of this feeling of like, okay, I don't really know what to expect, which is a feeling that human beings do not like. They like consistency. They like to know what they're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what people, I think we forget that sometimes as we seek to create a brand or develop a brand. The colors and the lights and everything that we've talked about, that really only matters in as much as if that's what people notice, you want to continue to give them that because it gives them the consistency and it gives them something to look forward to. And more importantly, it removes that element of uncertainty, which is what people want to distance themselves from.
So how do you reconcile that with the idea of novelty as being part of the brand? Like this brand is going to be new and fresh. Every time you visit, it's going to be something different and fun.
Can you give me an example of a brand like that?
No,
like
I was hoping you wouldn't ask that.
Because I mean, like, there's one thing to say, like, because there are places that the brand is like, we are different, right? And if they're consistently different, that's good.
I think maybe a cruise line, like some of the entertainment can change, and like maybe you don't know what you're getting into with that. I'm probably not the person to even know this answer. I assume it's out there.
I mean, I would love to look at that and like kind of break that down. Because my supposition would be that within that chaos and within the element of like what you can expect is the unexpected, there is a consistent element of, even if that's expecting the unexpected, right? Like, even if that's what people are like known for. As I'm thinking about it though, I'm trying to think of a brand. I can think of brands that are counter the niche or counter industry, right? Like they're like very different from everybody else. We've already brought up Liquid Death. Like Liquid Death. Yeah. It's like we're not Fiji. We're like I get my Liquid Death horoscope every month where they just tell me like how I'm going to be maimed that month. Like,
do you really?
I really do. I get a text. I'm subscribed.
Did you sell your soul for a case of water too?
I did at one. I think so. I think it was like for a sweepstakes entering or something.
My wife told me not to, just in case it affected something long term.
It was binding.
I'm like, fine, I'll be thirsty.
Yeah, maybe. But the point is, like, I can think of brands that are counter industry or like counter expectation for sure, but they do that consistently.
They're consistently counter industry or counter norm.
Like, you can think about even like shows that people love to hate on, or places where you go and you're like, this place objectively is awful, but we know that. And there's like, there's comfort there. And so you consistently visit it over going somewhere that you're like, it could be better, but
kind of like going to Waffle House. It's like, I can see how dirty this kitchen is, but I just keep coming back
Waffle
every time
House
I'm in
is a
Florida.
great example. You go to Waffle House because you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
Right. You're like
there's going to be some crackheads in the parking lot.
100%. You're like, I'm going to have to fight someone for this table.
Yeah.
I'm going to get food that is okay. Bertha behind the counter is going to smell like smoke, but she's really nice to me. And like, that's exactly the experience I want. I'm going to go to Waffle House.
They're going to call me honey or sweetie, 100%. And they're going to make my food and bring it right to me. And it's going to be awesome.
My favorite example of this is Crystal Pepsi. Do you know about the Crystal Pepsi thing?
No, okay. I don't.
So Coke and Pepsi are both like just treasure troves of like weird marketing, branding gimmicks, and like just the ups and downs. Like, you got the new Coke event of
I'm not in the marketing world. I don't hear about new Coke.
Man. Okay, so we're gonna break down Crystal Pepsi first. So I'm trying to remember the circumstances, but at one point Pepsi is like, we're gonna come out with this kind of novelty thing called Crystal Pepsi. And it was Pepsi, normal, but they removed all of the caramel color. And so it was perfectly clear. Now, just imagine in your mind, right? Like a cola, like Pepsi or Coke or whatever.
Yeah.
It tastes like a cola. It is a cola, but it is completely clear, like Sprite or 7-Up.
In my mind, it tastes dark. It doesn't just look dark. It tastes dark.
It bombed because it was cool and fun, but people would taste it and they're like, I hate this. Because you're so conditioned when you see like a clear, sparkly, it's like, this has got to be like lemon lime, or this has got to be like crisp and clear, and like, it's got to be Sprite, 7-Up, something like that. It's got to be something like that. And it wasn't. It was Pepsi. And so it just absolutely bombed. And people didn't know where to shelve it. They would put it in the shelves like by the Sprite, and then people would buy it thinking it was lemon lime, and then it wasn't. And it was awful. And so like, there's a lot to be said there about not only you can be counterculture, but you also need to operate within the bounds of what people understand and how they view the world. And if
like
you
what
want
their
to,
expectations are of you being part of this thing.
100%. Yeah. Like especially with something like a commodity, like soda, or a service like a plumber as a great, we come back to that. But if they have an expectation for what you are bringing to the table, you can have a unique element on that, or like a twist, or like some kind of thing that helps you stand out and like creates a memorable experience. But if you give them the opposite of what they're expecting, that's going to create discomfort. And that's going to be like, I don't ever want to experience this again because it makes me feel in danger.
Yeah.
Basically. Right.
It's so funny that you say in danger because as you're saying this, like it reminds me 100% of what I've told my wife about like why I ride motorcycles and I speed when I do that. And part of it, I've told her like, honestly, I think it's safer to speed a little bit around cars because especially when you're going slower on a motorcycle, the cars treat you differently because they think you're going to be speeding. So they like kind of get skittish around you. And when they start getting skittish, they might make a weird turn or lane change. And then like, well, now I'm in a position where I've got to account for their weird movement because I'm operating differently than that they thought I was going to.
Right.
And so they operate differently to counter that. And then now it's less safe.
It's like I see a motorcycle coming up and I know, okay, I'm just going to wait until this motorcycle passes me.
But then what if he doesn't?
Because
like,
I know he's just coming
should
fast.
I get
right?
over?
And then he doesn't.
Should
So
I
then
not?
it's like, where's the motorcycle? Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And as you navigate a brand or you navigate, any type of business, like you have to understand that what you're doing is almost always filling some kind of expectation for what this person wants to do to alleviate some kind of pain, right? Almost all business comes down to like, I want this service, I want this product, I want this thing to alleviate pain most times. And if they have an expectation for what's going to alleviate the pain, and then you try to approach that in a completely different way, you might still solve the problem, but you've now created an additional pain in doing that. And that's going to produce basically the exact opposite effect of what you're going for. Yeah. Which is fascinating.
And if you like what McKay just said, go ahead and drop a like on the video and back to what McKay was just saying. So we've mostly talked about companies, but how do you feel about like personal brands? Is it any different, or how do you go about building that or identifying really what your personal brand should be? Yeah. I've got so many questions that I could just list like 6 and you'll forget them all. So let's just start with, how is personal brands, like how are those different from a company's brand?
That's a great question. So again, I'm not going to claim to be, you title
I'll
me
claim
an expert.
You're expert.
That's fine. I will be an expert. I'm not going to claim to be like the end all be all, right? So I don't think that I don't think it's that different. Taking that same, the definition we've already kind of worked through here, which is, okay, a brand is what people expect to experience when they interact with you, right?
Okay.
Whether that's a company, a service, a product, doesn't matter. That same thing now starts to apply to a personal brand, right? A great example of this is the whole adage of like, never meet your heroes, right? You have this expectation of like what this person is. You've seen them on podcasts, you've seen them on TV, you've seen them like doing all these things. You know what they're like. You love that part of them. You love who they are. That's their personal brand. And then you meet them. And again, depending on the circumstance, like it's like not in a meet and greet. It's like at a restaurant when they want to be left alone. And now your favorite person is like, go away from me, right? Yeah. And it shatters that experience, and it shatters that expectation of like, this is what I wanted out of this interaction, and you don't get it. And that's exactly the never meet your heroes thing is a great example of personal branding in action. And that's one of the things that I think people begin to talk about when they start, becoming famous or like having some kind of brand, is they start gravitating towards other people that are in similar positions with them because everybody else has this view of them that is often a little misaligned from like who they actually are in real life. Now, I'm making that sound like a bad thing. The reality is it's extremely powerful if you can start presenting this thing of like, this is who I am. This is what I want to be. Good catch on that mic.
Yeah. Thank you.
Dangerous.
I really got to upgrade these.
Maybe just like a sandbag or something.
Yeah.
I'm touching it and it almost fell over. Anyway, I'm making it sound like a bad thing, but they are extremely powerful if we can remember that what people want is that consistency, right? I want this guy to be funny. He's funny. This is great. I come exactly what I'm looking for. I want this guy to teach me about money. This guy teaches me about money. It's very consistent. I know what to expect. That's a very powerful brand, because then when I have a pain point that's associated with like, gosh, I don't know, I can't get out of debt, or I'm like struggling to follow a budget, this guy is the one I go to for that. Sure. Right. He's built a very good brand around this idea of this is what we solve, this is what we do. If Dave Ramsey suddenly was like, I'm also going to teach you guys how to cook because I love cooking. Maybe he could pull it off. Maybe there would be some kind of big shift. I feel like that would be challenging, because most people know what to expect from him. They know what they're looking for, and they know what we're getting into. And that brings up some slight nuance, because you can think of, I think of maybe some big YouTubers or something that have a pretty solid brand, and their brand is, we do crazy stuff all the time, right? Like, okay, the consistency is the crazy things happening all the time, whether they're like in a kitchen, or they're on the trampoline, or they're in a plane, or like no matter what they're doing, we still know what to expect from them.
It's going to be crazy every time.
Totally. And I think last point on that, I think, again, it kind of shows itself as being true, where the people that are the most consistent are almost always the ones that have the strongest personal brand. If there's a way to measure that, right? If you want to measure that with like followers or like influence or things like that, most of the ones that are the most consistent are the biggest people. Like, you know exactly what to get out of the largest creators in the world, and they always do the exact same thing every single time. And that's what people come back for, because they know what to expect. They know how to solve their pain from what that person provides. And it can be very, very, very powerful, for sure.
So I know I'm going to be stealing some of the content and some of the value that you may provide in your consulting services, or maybe just highlight that here. But how long does it take to build a brand? Whether it's a company or like, let's say a new small business, or just like a personal brand online. How long do you think it takes to really like, you're being consistent, you're posting consistently, you're providing content or a service consistently? Like, how long until you have established your brand?
Okay. That's a big question. Let me think about that for like 3 seconds. So it sounds like the question is there a timeline?
Yeah.
To like making it?
And let's make it easier. We'll say like, let's just say it's a personal brand.
Yeah.
Let's say LinkedIn influencer. You started your account and now you're like, I'm going to become a LinkedIn influencer and I'm going to talk about this niche. How long would it take for this person to establish a brand?
That's a really good question. I'm going to make the very bold answer that there really isn't a fixed amount of time, probably, right? It's going to be, there's a lot of factors in play here. There is, how much competition is in that niche. So I'm going to butcher his name, and I'm going to apologize in advance. Colin, the credit card guy.
The credit card guy?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know him.
Colin, I could look up his name. I want to say it starts with an S. I'm not going to try because I'm going to feel bad. But so he's the one that we could like put this in post. We'll just like find out what his name is, and we'll put it on the screen.
I'll find it. I'll put some text on the screen.
We've literally talked before, so it was cool. So he's a really not that he owes me or anything, but we talked initially when he was like, "Hey, I have this idea of I want to help people like understand credit card points and like maximize their points, and it's gonna be really cool."
I know who you're talking about. This is so annoying.
No, he's awesome, and he's a really cool guy.
Yeah,
and we talked. It was October of 23. I remember because we were in Ohio at the time. And we talked, and I was like, this sounds awesome. Like, go for it, dude. This sounds amazing. And at the time, he had like a couple thousand followers, and he was like starting to post about it. Now I think he has like, I don't know, last check, like 30,000 something. Like maybe over 50. 20. He's like 20.
He's pretty big.
He's big. I mean, it's been just, the last time I checked, I think it was like 30. Yeah. And it's probably like 50 now.
Yeah.
Because it is just meteoric rise, right? He's just killing it. And that's because it is a very specific thing that he talks about. And no one else is really doing it, especially not on LinkedIn, right? Very little competition, broad appeal to everybody, very consistent with it. And he has honed in that strategy for communicating very efficiently. This is what I can help you do, right?
I think he's really doubled down too, because now I want to say his LinkedIn headline is like maximizing credit card points for executives who travel. And so it's not even as broad as it used to be of like, helping people with credit card points, but like executives who travel frequently, like I help you.
Totally. And that's something that, again, my recommendation for anybody that is getting started is allow the feedback from those that you work with to dictate, not dictate, but inform where you take that brand and like where you start niching down and like being a little more specific. That's something that gets peddled as advice all the time, is like niche down, get very specific. And there is a lot of value there. There is a ton of value there. But what I have learned painfully over and over again is what you think you know and what you think is important is often not what is actually important to most people.
Yeah.
And so
it's become very apparent to me as I've talked to, I think you're guest 13 now, maybe 14. And I've talked
14, not unlucky 13, right?
Now I've talked to all these experts and in these different fields, and some in fields that I am adjacent to or have worked in. And I'm like, I am an idiot. It's like, I know nothing about this and all of my opinions were wrong.
It's the thing is like, there's something to be said for like, you don't know what you don't know, right? Yeah. That is completely true, right? But what's even worse is sometimes you don't even know what you think you know.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't know what you don't know. You can't even expect what you don't understand, right? But there are things that you were like, I'm pretty confident in this. And then how that applies to everybody else, you just way off, right? Yeah. And so again, he's a great example of that, where he's now starting to niche down even more as he's reached this stage of like really broad appeal and like a pretty large following. He's now like, hey, let's go even more focused on like executives that are spending large amounts on credit cards. And that's obviously where he can maximize his value. And now it's like, that's very consistent and people know exactly what to do. I consistently talk with people, business owners, my own boss at my job. And I realized, I was like, hey man, like we're running all these ads for these people. Like how much, do you have a credit card you're spending all this on? And he's like, well, absolutely. And I was like, you should talk to Colin. Like I was like, I know that that's exactly what he does. Right. Yeah. And it's very, very, very consistent. And so, yeah, not to beat that horse to death, but like consistency is the thing that's going to turn that around. So coming back to that initial question, how fast can you do that? Again, at what point did he reach that like link influencer status? I don't know, 6 months. Like it was very quick.
Yeah.
But it's more of that question of like consistency, right? I'm somebody that's really struggled with that. I think because I have a lot of broad reaching interests and like, I like to talk about many things and I like to interact with people and I do all that kind of stuff. I haven't been as consistent and I'm okay with that right now. Like I'm allowing that to be a thing, right? But I'm sure a lot of people watching this are like, oh, didn't know McKay was talking about brands and communicating and like all that kind of stuff. That's because I do a poor job and half the time I want to post about the toads I find on my walk, right? Because I really love like amphibians.
I really love amphibians.
This is a true thing. It comes out. But again, the consistency is what's really going to sell that. And deciding what you want to be consistent on and sticking with it is going to be almost more important than virtually anything else, even the green lighting.
Yeah.
Right, realistically.
I mean, maybe I'll change it to blue. Who knows? We're on episode 13 or 14 of 5,000.
You stick to it.
Well, that makes me, we're talking about niching down, like being consistent. It makes me wonder, like, at what point have you added too many things to what you want your brand to be? Like, we do this and this and this and this, and this is all of our brand. Do you have any examples of like, oh yeah, that's why that company failed? Because they failed to identify what their core brand was and just stick to that?
Oh man, that's a really good question. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to give a counter example of that, I think, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And this is something that I'm not an expert in. So I'm not an expert in like product lines and like when should you diversify and when should you not, when should you stick to it. Sure. But Sean Riley, who is one of the founders, if not the founder of Dude Wipes.
Yeah.
Right.
He's the CEO of Dude Wipes.
CEO of Dude Wipes.
And he commented on one of my LinkedIn posts.
You made it, dude.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Like, I think I'm a LinkedIn influencer now.
I think so. I think that's the test, actually.
Yeah. So Sean Riley.
He talks a lot about this, actually, where, they start Dude Wipes. Everyone's like, wipes, they're another great example of like a really strong brand, right? That like the brand gives you a certain feeling and like that's what you go for, right?
Mm-hmm.
It took them forever to diversify into like medicated wipes as an example, or even like different like scents for their wipes. And he talked a lot about that, where he was like, and he gave a list of like, these are all these different brands that have tried to copy us and then seen the greener grass in other pastures and like, let's split up, let's diversify, let's go for all these things. And it not only does it make it so that you are less consistent and therefore people may not understand exactly what it is that you do, but you're now divided in your attention and your ability to be consistent across all those things. Not that it can't be done. There are companies that do amazing things for lots of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like you can count on like 10 hands the number of things that Amazon does, right? But before they did Amazon Web Services, like everything else that they do, Prime Video, like now they're making movies. Like it's
like now they do Lord of the Rings and people say that Rings of Power is bad, but it's actually good. And like, come on.
I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole, dude.
It's good, I swear.
Right at the camera. I want to fight online. That's what it sounds like. But my point being, like, before they went in those directions, it was like, and again, when I say Amazon, what do you think of?
I think of buying stuff online.
You think of buying stuff online, right? Even if you've mostly interacted with like, again, Prime Video or like all these other things, and there's so many other aspects of their business at this point. But the fact that when you say Amazon and it's like, oh, online shopping, like I'm buying stuff online, that is like the proof is in the pudding. If they had decided, oh, before we're known there, we want another group of people to know us first for video production, that creates enormous amounts of conflict and it really hampers your ability to actually bring those clients across those different like services or platforms or things like that. Right. And this is a big problem I see in digital marketing agencies often, is they'll grow and they'll grow and they'll become really powerful doing one thing really well. Right. It's like we're digital marketing, we're buying ad space, right? We're doing like social media advertising or even like we're Google advertising, search advertising, whatever. And then it's like, oh, but people keep asking us if we also do websites. Like, let's do website, right? We
can make websites. Sure.
Absolutely. And within my day job, I have fought that tooth and nail because it's like the opportunities are there. And sometimes you may lose money saying no to a project that you could say yes to. And again, it's not my decision. Like if you're running a company, like that's your call, right? But in my experience and in my humble opinion, what you might gain from like a transactional arrangement of like, oh, we're going to just tack on this extra service or like build out this extra thing, you are sacrificing the brand in that you are sacrificing what experience you are able to provide to your customers consistently. And until you've built a point where, like Amazon, people think of you for that core thing that you do and you do that better than anybody else, trying to upsell or branch out or like do those additional things is probably just going to be pulling attention from where you need to be putting it the most. And that applies to personal brands, right? Like, again, I have suffered from that. Like we talked a little bit before the camera started rolling about, I spent some time, not significant amounts of money and time, but enough into a course at one point on like personal finance and like lending and credit and things like that specifically. Because while I was going to school for marketing, I actually worked as a loan officer in a bank and specifically with like consumer loans, like not mortgages and stuff. And I became really good at understanding that system, like all that stuff. And I really am still very, very passionate about it. I've kind of just shelved that though. Because it's so different from everything else I talk about with like interpersonal communication and like branding and like messaging and like all that other stuff, that it is almost impossible for people to keep up with that. Like I still have family members that come up to me now and they're like, do you still work at the bank? And I'm like, no, grandma. Like I haven't forever. And like, you should be following me on LinkedIn so you know that's not the case, right? But
my wife's grandpa shows me his taxes anytime I'm at his house. Like I have never filed taxes. I used to do financial planning with people, but I've never been a tax preparer. So
I love that. And that's, again, we want to talk about branding people being what people talk about you when you're not in the room, right? those grandparents and aunts and uncles and all those other people that don't follow you on LinkedIn, it's like their understanding of what you do is based off of what they know, right? So you take that to your customers, and it's like, however your customers are interacting with you, what they understand that you do is going to be based off what you have told them. And if they only see 2 or 3 of your posts and they're all about something different, it's like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea.
Like, that guy's all over the place.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm very curious about this because this is something I'm contemplating at work. So we are the kind of the budget option in our marketplace. We provide commercial insurance to small businesses.
Okay.
And we are the cheapest option in the marketplace usually, and we are intentional about that. But we often have the best coverage, the highest limits, the most additional coverages you can add on if you need them, but at the lowest cost.
Interesting.
And we've always been, I've only been at the company just under a year. The company's always been the budget option for the budget consumer. Like a lot of small businesses, they're all budget conscious.
Totally.
But there are premium options in the marketplace. And this doesn't, we can stray away from my real life example if we need to. But how do you go about turning around a budget brand into a premium brand? Have you seen that done, or how would you go about doing that?
That's a really good question. I've experienced some of that with my day job as well, actually, where it's a very similar thing where it's like, okay, we produce phenomenal results, and we often do that for a fraction of what people are used to paying.
Yeah.
Right?
Like half sometimes.
Now, to be clear, man, depending on the day you ask me, I'm like, you should charge as much as possible, right?
Yeah.
And then on the other
Which
day,
is kind of the direction I want to go. But
right.
people say no.
There is still definitely value in like prioritizing, like we want to save our customers money, right? Like there's people appreciate that. They like it. They love it. You have brands that you go to because they save you money. And like that is part of the way that you interact with them. And that can be very, very impactful, right? Obviously, if it's to the detriment of your own business or your own ability to grow and then continue to provide that kind of service, are you actually being, service oriented, or are you just, not running your business properly, right? In fact, Mitch Whiting talks about this. And it was the first time I've heard this explained this way. And I was like, that blew my mind. Everything he says blows my mind. So everyone go follow him.
Shout out Mitch.
Shout out to Mitch Whiting. He talked about how, and I'm going to butcher this, but charging a premium is actually a service that you should be providing to your clients, because doing that enables you, if you really are providing an exceptional service in the product or service that you're offering, right? If you really are absolutely fulfilling what they need you to fulfill, charging a premium enables you to not only continue to do that in the future, but do it better, improve, and all of those things. And that is actually also for their benefit in the long run, right? Again, Mitch, don't get mad at me if I butchered that out. That's how I interpreted it, and that's how I understood it.
Yeah, well, I think customers or consumers often think like, oh, that one's more expensive, it's going to be better. And conversely, if they see, oh, that's cheaper, in fact, it's way cheaper, I wonder if it's bad. I'm not going to purchase this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use this service. This plumber is half the cost of this other guy. I wonder if he does a good job. Is he licensed? Is he insured? Like, I'm just going to go with the more expensive option.
Yeah. I mean,
and I'm curious if we sometimes put ourselves in that position where we are, for some coverages, for some business types, 50% the cost of our competition.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. If I saw that, I would wonder, like, do I really have adequate coverage? Is there something that
you're like, what's the catch?
Missing? Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. That's the Crystal Pepsi thing in a nutshell, right? It's like, whatever you're doing, you still have to operate within the way people view reality and how they understand the world around them. And as an almost established rule of law, if a company is vastly cheaper than the competitor, it's because there's corners or something being cut somewhere.
Yeah, it's not as good.
It's not as good. It can't be as good, because otherwise
it'd be more
it should
money.
be more expensive, right?
Yeah.
And so even if it is actually good, or in your case, sometimes better,
often better,
right?
Yeah.
Then you will continue to, in my opinion, you will continue to struggle against that, because you're pushing against this created understanding of where people are, right? And like this understanding of how people view the world and like how they're expecting their problem to be solved. And in fact, we had this exact, not to take it from you, but we went through this at my day job. at the beginning of the year. We literally tripled our price. Do the quick math, tripled our price by like almost. It's like 2.9% increase. And we started selling way more. Like I would tell people like, this is everything we're going to do for you. And it's this much money. And they would be like, I understand. Let's go for it. And I was like, what have we done? We've wasted so much time.
Did that affect retention or?
Retention has been good. Like it's every metric improved almost overnight because our price went up so significantly.
Alex Hormozy would love you.
I know, right? I know. And it's this weird, I had experienced this at school where I was sitting in class and I was like going to school, getting my degree in marketing, working in an agency. And I would hear these things at school. And it was like, this is how you should do. This is like best practice. Like this is the kind of stuff that like is going to drive the needle. And then I'd go to work and it was like, well, we're not going to do that because it's a waste of time. Right. And it kind of hit me that I was like, okay, so we're not doing the things that I'm being taught and everyone's telling me are really important to do. And we're also not seeing the results that we should be seeing. It's almost as if doing the things that everyone says are important results in phenomenal results like they have achieved, right? And not to say, let me caveat that by saying like, there's a lot of luck involved with business. There's a lot of timing involved with business. There's a lot of things in the market involved. Like there are so many variables there other than just like doing exactly what Alex Hormozy did, right? But when you have multiple people that are like, hey, you should do this thing, it tends to be usually really good advice. So coming back to your specific point, right?
This is going to make problems for people at work for me because I thought I would back off the whole price thing. And I'm like, no, I'm back on it.
Again, in my mind, test it.
Yeah.
Right. Try it.
Yeah.
And if you still want to fill that niche of like, we're the people that take care of the little guy, that's great. Like that's amazing. If you're missing the little guys though, because they're feeling like, man, we can't afford the budget option because it's going to screw us down the line. We got to go with the more expensive option so we're actually covered. And they're just completely missing the whole point. Try coming in not 50% cheaper, like 20% cheaper or 10% cheaper, right? Still fill that niche, still be there, but don't misalign what people are expecting from you. Right? And just test it. And if it doesn't work out, then you can go back to what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, take me back to your examples. You guys tripled your price. Was there, what accompanied that? Was it just a price change? Was it a rebranding? Were there additional services? Or?
Great question. No. So what it came down to was, in quick context is for my day job, I work at a company where we provide a marketing service and a software tool to trucking companies to help them get higher quality drivers, right? In the trucking space.
And you mean not hire HIRE?
To be clear, to hire quality drivers, to hire HIGHER quality drivers, right? You're gonna make me spell out. I'm tired. Both hires, right?
Okay.
Yes. Like we are not a recruiting agency specifically, although we have added on some services there. It's not the point. For the most part, we are focused on this idea of like, look, you need higher quality people. And the trucking space specifically is like locked in the Stone Age. They're like 20 years behind. Like it's wild. Like
those are such fun industries to be in.
It's kind of exciting. Like there's some things where it's like, hey, have you guys tried like, I don't know. I can't even.
Not faxing this?
Literally. It's like, hey, have you guys tried like asking questions to qualify prospects before you talk to them? And they're like, oh, never.
That's a great idea.
We should do that. I was like, well, you should do that. It's exciting. It's cool. It's fun.
Insurance is kind of the same way.
I say that to say, what we ended up, we were advertising, we were like trying to bring in clients, we were like doing all this stuff, and we actually sat down and looked at the numbers. And at our price point, we were charging, as an example, it was like $2,000 for like a 3-month service.
Okay.
Again, a lot of it was like a software, and so we didn't have a ton of upfront cost for us. So we felt like it was fair. That was the important thing. We felt like this is what we feel like is fair for our customers. We're going to charge this. When we actually sat down and looked at our numbers, it was virtually impossible for our business to grow. And by extension, what we talked about earlier, continue to provide a phenomenal service from all of the clients that we have been servicing and helping and benefiting. It was impossible for us to grow at that $2,000 price point. We bumped it up to $6,000. And again, overnight, people began to say like, oh yeah, no, I understand what you're giving to me. That sounds super fair. Let's go for it. And again, in our case, there was no need. There wasn't no need, but there was no requirement of like additional services or like rebranding or like repackaging or anything else other than this is a premium service. It has a slightly premium price tag.
Mm-hmm.
There are people in our industry that are still charging 2 or 3 times what we do. It's not as good. We're in a similar boat where it's like, I feel like this is really great. And we don't want to continue to kind of price gouge, right? Like we still want to have that respect for the people we're working with.
Mm-hmm.
And it's beneficial to our business to charge what we feel like is fair.
Yeah.
But more importantly, it's allowed us to now like grow and scale and like get to the point where we can now make some additional, and it goes into the face of what we talked about earlier, but we're adding on some additional services for things that people want from us.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been highly beneficial. And that's been directly because we have started charging more, and it's more in line with what people expect.
Was that difficult internally to make that switch?
It's a very small company. And so
there were like 6 of you that had to get aligned, or what?
Yes. That was a great guess. How did you know? There was 6. And genuinely, it was very small. We kind of, I have the privilege of being in a position of like people, the owner listens to what I say and he takes my advice seriously, which I feel very grateful for. So
it's a good spot to be.
It is nice. I think that's valuable.
Yeah.
We talk about that for a long time anyway, so we'll move on past that, but it's a good thing and I appreciate it. And I feel like it helps me, but anyway, so yeah, there was a couple of us that had to decide to make that jump.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm responsible for all our sales. And so it did kind of come down to me, like, can you sell this thing that you were selling yesterday at a fraction of the cost, at triple the cost, right? And I remember the first time I just kind of went for it, and I was like, my stomach was rolling, and I was like, this is the price. And the guy was like, great. And I was like,
sweet.
What?
What do you mean?
It's crazy. And again, you hear that all the time. Like almost always when I've done on the consulting side, like I've met with marketers or service providers or anything, we meet, and almost always the first thing I say is like, you need to increase your price.
Mm-hmm.
Like charge double, charge triple, charge way more than you would. And until you hit that point of resistance where it's like, that's not worth it, then you start knowing, okay, this is what my perceived value is, right? That's an important thing about price that we don't often talk about, is the price that people are willing to pay is what they perceive your value to be.
Yeah.
Right. And so not knowing that limit is kind of an important limit to know.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what is the limit of the value we bring to these people?
To add more to that too, I think it's not just about like the product or service that a business is offering, but also if you were to dial down to, just bring it down to yourself as an employee and like how much money you're getting paid.
Yeah.
Just to look at the reality of it, like you accepted a number because you thought this is the value that I can add to the company.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're adding more than that, then maybe you should ask for more.
Yeah.
Or maybe if you're not actually making the company or saving the company, contributing in whatever way you do your salary, then maybe you should be concerned, because companies start to recognize like, hey, Matt's underperforming. He's not making me his salary. He's making me half his salary.
Right.
Maybe we need to replace him with someone who makes more than just his salary for the company.
And the beautiful thing about that is it's like, if you want more money, learn how to be more valuable. Right. Yeah. And if you can't be more valuable where you're at, or you are more valuable and they don't want to recognize it, then find a way to leverage that somewhere else, right? With somebody else. And that's something that saying that is a lot easier than doing it.
I mean, it's a harsh reality, but it's also difficult to actually find that balance, or like find not a balance, but I don't know, just the right point, like the right employer who's going to recognize your value and where you actually provide that value.
Yeah.
I've had plenty of jobs where I felt like I was being underpaid, but some of the time I was also not providing my salary, like I've talked about it on like 1 or 2 episodes, but I started off in financial planning, started off as an intern, did decent on my own, and then went full-time with a guy who already had a practice and just stepped in to be a full-time advisor with his practice. And I was not ready for it. And I was not very good. And he was very particular, but I was not providing my salary, my salary's value to him. And we ended up parting ways. He didn't fire me, but I knew it was coming. And one day we had a conversation where we were both like, hey, I think this isn't working out.
You're like, yeah. And I'm sure, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm very confident that didn't feel good.
No, I'm not stoked. But I don't know. I'm somewhat self-aware. And I recognize like I am not at a point where I should be doing this because I know how much money we make from each one of our clients with each one of these meetings that I'm holding. And I am not bringing in more than he's paying me today.
Right. Again, and that's, okay. Not to make this like a one track conversation, right? But you kind of bring that all back to like, this idea of like a personal brand, right? It's like a personal brand becomes really powerful when you understand what value you actually bring to people, right? And if you understand that limit, that solves a lot of problems because it's like, I know exactly how much I should be compensated. I know exactly how much value I'm going to bring. And when you can operate within that balance, I liked your term balance earlier. Like when you operate within that balance, it's super powerful and it creates a lot of momentum and a lot of energy that can go out and inspire people and like bring in attention and bring in movement and it creates more than it takes at that point. When you operate in that position of like, I'm being a leech, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not being a contributor in a way that is equitable. It's not only no fun, but it's like, I think it's harmful to the way you view yourself, the way you like want to proceed, the way you want to progress. And it's most certainly harmful to like the people around you. And when other people cue into that as well, it's like, no one wants to be in that environment.
Yeah.
We're like, those are the people we talk about, the fake. That's why people care so much about like fake influencers, right? That have like bot followers or that have that's why people on LinkedIn right now are so mad about like AI commenters and like all this kind of stuff. There are the people that are selling that and like, it's like comment playbook and I'll send you my AI
comment
suite.
Playbook. That's too real.
And I'm going to tell you how to make a digital clone of yourself that will do all this stuff. And people are eating that up. And everyone that I know that's like a real person and that I have real relationships with hates that because it's like you are the leech in that situation, right? Like I don't trust you because you're getting all of this compensation in the form of, not just like likes and comments and stuff, but like social clout and like the ability to influence people.
Yeah.
And you're not providing that value back, right? And you compare that to other people. Like we talked about Colin earlier, right? But there's many people on LinkedIn that have rightfully earned the amount of people that follow them and quote them and talk about them, right? Mitch Whiting's another one. We've already quoted him, right? Those are these people that it's like, they have a following, they provided a ton of value. And that is directly proportional to each other. And that's a cool thing. It's fascinating.
So have you only been in the marketing and sales world? Like you studied marketing in college, went directly into marketing and sales, and like this is just your life?
Yeah, mostly. Like in some form or another. I spent out of college, it was mostly agencies and like doing marketing sales even. So not only just marketing and sales, like marketing sales, right? Selling marketing services was a lot of what I did. But I also have a minor degree in communications. And most of my non-professional, like non-full-time stuff has been more focused on like interpersonal communication and like negotiating and like managing relationships. And that's the thing that I'm probably most passionate about.
Like negotiating or managing relationships?
Yeah, most like...
In what context?
It's a really great question. I love that question. It is my view that contrary to the way a lot of sales is perceived, and I think most great salespeople understand this already. So this is not like revolutionary. Let me be clear. I do not think this is revolutionary. But contrary to what most people, I think, perceive about sales, in almost every interaction, especially if you're trying to sell something or like get something out of somebody, if you can gather all of the data and all of the information for how everybody feels, what they all want, what the expectations are, what pain needs to be met, there's almost always a way to click all of that together where most people wins, most everybody wins, and everyone feels good, and you can solve those problems with enough, I don't want to use the word communication, but like with enough understanding, right? I feel like that's a beautiful thing. And that's what I like most about the sales that I get to do is it's like, let's talk about your problems. Like most good salespeople understand this. It's like you need to, and there's, we use terms like discovery, and we use terms like finding pain points, and all that it comes down to is I need to understand where you're coming from to know if I can solve your problem. Mm-hmm. And that extends that relationship of like, if we can reach a point of, it's almost like a critical mass of understanding where it all just snaps together and comes together. That method and that pattern exists not only in sales and not only in business, but in pretty much all elements of human interaction. Mm-hmm. Whether that's like family interactions, between friends, negotiating a new job, like interacting with people at the store, like all of that boils down to most of us operate from a position of not understanding enough. And I'm really passionate about trying to solve that. And whether that's for people with their clients or interpersonally, I think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I grew up and I thought, I don't have any money. I'm going to study finance because finance is money. So I will have money.
I will understand and therefore own money.
Yeah. And then, I had I did personal financial planning, like I said, as an intern, and then also within someone else's practice, was in operations at Morgan Stanley, big bank there, and got to see how all that runs. And then I thought, finance is kind of boring, or at least these avenues within finance are kind of boring.
Yeah.
And the fun avenues of finance that, I can read about on the forums, like people who actually work there, not just the movies, but like people who actually have these jobs.
Not just the Wolf of Wall Street. Like that.
Yeah, not just Wolf of Wall Street looks fun. Well, Wolf of Wall Street honestly made me sad. It was like fun watching it until you get about 2/3 of the way in, and then the movie ends, and you're like, I think I just feel sad now.
You're like, oh no, I'm disappointed for him.
Yeah, it's like, was that the point? Anyway, I went through, did the finance route, and now I work in insurance and finishing up my MBA within the next month or so.
Which, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's been a lot. And then started this podcast while also doing the MBA and having another child,
it's
and moved, a week ago. It's great.
I love it. You're a man. What can you do?
Just what you do. But my point is, I have not been in the marketing world, but I have considered, like, I wish that I did something in marketing just so I could be better at negotiating and understanding the pain points, all the terms, and really just understanding needs and being able to communicate how I can fill those needs for people.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, like, marketing is just communication for the purpose of, I'm not gonna broaden it. Marketing is just communication. It's the act of making something known, right? And usually it's used to make known that I can fix a problem that you have. I think that's my view on it.
I think it's accurate. I think it's a good.
But as someone who didn't come up in that world, I wish that I were better at it. So for other people like me who just want to get a little bit better at negotiating or a little bit better at communicating how I can solve people's needs, do you have any first do this. This is how you get better at communicating. This is how you get better at speaking with people and helping them understand your value.
It's a great question. So
it's too long of a question.
It's a good question. So it sounds like what you're saying is what's the number one first thing to do to get better at that type of communicating of this is how I can help solve your problem.
Yeah.
Right. The number one thing that every interaction should start with and that most people lack. Right? I saw your previous episode with Caleb where you were like, what's the first thing you tell people? And he's like, eat more protein.
Yeah.
Right? You need more protein. No one gets enough protein. This is the protein.
This is the protein of communicating.
Okay. It's like most people do not know enough about what the other person wants or feels. Every time. And
say more. What do you mean?
Yeah, great. So let me share a story to illustrate this. So I'm pulling out I'm unpacking. This is a big one. So I'm like,
all right. I'll strap in.
And I mentioned this before we got started. And some people are familiar with my story. So we in the beginning of my career, I was fortunate enough to get into owning a couple of properties as rentals. And it was great. And it felt like a path towards financial freedom. And it was really, really good. Mm-hmm. Long story short, we had some pretty terrible experiences with people, and we were naive and we made some mistakes in protecting ourselves legally and just contractually and all these things. And so we put ourselves in kind of a sticky situation, and then some bad actors got involved, and we lost a lot of money and experienced a lot of pain. So that culminates in us deciding we want to live in Oklahoma, where we live now. We find this house. We're like, this is beautiful. This is where we want to be. This is going to be great for our family. I think the best way to do this is we have one property left. It is a townhome in Spanish Fork, Utah. Let's sell that townhome and let's go ahead and use that money to buy this house. It's gonna be great.
Okay.
There's a lot of complicated things there.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm getting at is we had a tenant there that had been there for about 2 years, about a year. I'm getting my timelines mixed up. He'd been there about a year, and he was great. He was good. Towards the end there, again, this is the kind of stuff that they don't talk about in like real estate owning and stuff, and like being a landlord. He started like being a little more late on his rent. Like every month was a little later. And then it was like, hey, someone like stole my banking information and my account's frozen and I can't pay. And then it's trying to recover that. And like, oh, this is coming to this thing where we got to the point where like, we need to start selling this house. We need to get him out so we can clean it up and get ready to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to work with him. I'm like, hey man, like I need like your rent from you so we can finish everything up. But like, are you willing to break your, this is what it was. We needed him to break his contract early so we could basically sell the house and get out of there. Right.
So you needed the cash for the place in Oklahoma.
So here's the negotiation, right? Here's the setup. The setup is he has a couple of months left on his lease. He's been slightly consistently late with his payments. I would like him to break his lease 3 or 4 months early so that we can sell the house and move into our new house, right?
Okay.
I have a very clear goal. I want him to break his lease early. And he has to, because we had a contract and he had a lease, I can't be like, I didn't feel good about being like, we're selling the house. Like, he could, he could dispute that, and that's not right or ethical. So that's my goal. I go into this, I start talking to him about like, hey man, like, would you do us this favor? Like, what can we do about this? And all this is to say, this culminates in him just being like obstinate, like, I can't do that. Like, I don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. And I understand that like he has kids in the area and like he wants to be close to their school. But I found another townhome a block away that our friends had started renting. And I was like, look, you could move here. Like I am selling. In my mind, it made sense. I was like, if you do it now, great. If you don't do it now, in 4 months when your lease is up, I am selling this house. Like you are not living here long-term. That is not happening.
Yeah.
But I could not understand why he was being so obstinate about, he's like, no, I don't want to move out right now. I can't, I don't want to. So I finally like took a step back. I was getting very frustrated. And we started trying to like, can we evict him? He's been late. Like there was all this stuff and it was really painful. It just felt yucky. It was bad. Yeah. I finally took a step back and I was like, okay, I can handle this. I know how to do this better. And I went back and I started asking questions and opening it. I was like, hey, how can I make this work for you? Like, what is the most important thing for you right now? And it turns out, again, he had some financial stuff and he was concerned about this new rental. He couldn't make the deposit to actually get into that new place.
Yeah. I mean, he can't pay you.
He can't pay me. He can't pay. So what it came down to is I was like, well, he had his deposit with us that we had been holding that I wanted to, I was going to give it back to him if the house was clean. Like we all had this all figured out. At the end of the day, as soon as I knew that information, I was like, oh, and I looked at my own numbers and I was like, okay, I can give you this. I'll keep the deposit. I ended up coming out like $200 or $300 ahead, and he got his money then when he needed it. And it was like, that's all he wanted. That's all he needed. And he took that and he moved out and it was a clean transition and everybody won.
So he moved out at the end of the lease?
He moved out that month. Like he was like, oh no, this is perfect. That solves my problem. I can move out. I'm going to take it. I'm going to go to this new house. It's bigger. It's better. It's closer to the school. Like it was everything that he wanted. Mm-hmm. And I was operating under the assumption that was everything he wanted. So I was so confused as to why he wouldn't move. And it was because he needed money to put the down payment and put the deposit on that property. And I didn't know that. Yeah. Right. And I was very frustrated and I was like, so there's a long story and it wasn't as elegant as I wanted it to be. But the point that I'm trying to make is I thought I knew enough. I thought I knew about his kids. I knew about his kids going to school. I knew about the fact that he wanted to stay there. I also knew that I had this leverage point of, I'm going to sell this place no matter what when your lease is up, right? To me, that made all the sense in the world. I was like, this should be an easy negotiation.
Yeah,
I should be able to
deal.
just explain it to him and he should react, right? In the way I want him to. And he didn't. And it wasn't until I asked 10 minutes of questions that it kind of came out. And I realized, okay, there's this missing piece that I have not understood. And as soon as we solved that, it was like smooth sailing. Everyone won. He got exactly what I wanted. I got exactly what I wanted. And everyone was happy. And Chris Voss he's the author of Never Split the Difference. I don't know if you
I've heard the book. I don't know his name, but
the real answer to your question of what can people do if they want to get better at negotiating is read Never Split the Difference. It's awesome. It's like my second Bible. It's amazing. So he talks about this principle. It's something he calls a black swan, which is the piece of information that you don't know you need because you don't know it exists. And you won't know it until you find it. And again, applying this to the fact that every interpersonal communication comes down to this idea that until you have all the pieces, it's going to feel frustrating and it's going to feel sticky. And taking the time and honing that skill of understanding and having empathy and really learning to appreciate what other people need, want, and feel, that is the very first thing that you should practice and that you should get better at. And that will immediately launch your ability to communicate and market and negotiate with people to the next level.
Looking back, it almost seems obvious, like he wasn't able to pay you. Why would he be able to put the deposit down on the next place? And I'm not saying that to be like, McKay, you are so dumb.
Totally.
But how many times are we like, yeah, why isn't this working? Why aren't they going for this? And then it's like, oh, yeah, why didn't I just think about all the parts of this equation here? Like,
so in sales, that comes down to like, I need to understand, okay, like again, oftentimes you'll have like what's called like a champion, right? Which is the person within the industry or within the business that's like, you're the one talking to them. They're on board. They got to go get the CEO.
They got to convince everybody
right?
else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it'll just be that thing where it's like the champion's on board, the CEO's on board, finance is like everyone's on board, and it just doesn't happen, right? And the real trick to solving that is like, why? If to you it seems to make sense and it's not happening, there is obviously something going on that is keeping that from happening. And that's way easier said than done, don't get me wrong, right? But the thing that I really love about that is people are way more accessible when it's like you and me talking. It's not me trying to sell an enterprise level SaaS product. It's us talking or me negotiating with my teacher at school to make sure that I get the grade that is best, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like they want to give you a good grade. You want a good grade. Like as long as
how can you make it happen?
Let's make it happen, right? Like let's figure it out. And like, okay, where's the hang up here? Is it because they, want to grade you correctly? Okay, that's probably admirable. Like let's work within that boundary now. Let's add that to the rule of things that we understand about the situation. And that's my way of approaching pretty much every problem that exists, to be honest. It's like, okay, cool. We don't know enough. Let's figure out what information we need to find out to make this all kind of, again, critical mass of like it all snaps together and it all makes sense and everyone wins.
Do you have any negotiations that you can look back on in your career that just fell apart and you could share like, oh yeah, here's why that failed?
That's a great question. That's a good question.
Because I've got a few bad ones. I mentioned off camera that like I flip motorcycles, which means I also do a good deal of negotiating, like I did this afternoon selling a KTM. And I don't think I'm great at it, but I get a little bit of practice. I think I've maybe flipped a dozen by now.
That's pretty good, yeah.
In the past 3 years. And one time, this year actually, so you can tell I'm not getting better at it. It was maybe 2 months ago. I was showing this guy a Ducati Monster 1200, kind of larger size street bike. And he was asking like, oh, do you like this bike? I'm like, yeah, I love it. And he asked like what other bikes I have. And I'm like, oh, also got this Street Triple, which is kind of a competitor. And he's like, oh, well, how do you like that one? I'm like, oh, I love that one. Like that one's awesome. That's the one I'm keeping. But I probably shouldn't have mentioned that because now, he liked it. He liked it a lot. And he seemed like ready to buy, just needed to, everyone goes home to think about it. Almost no one buys the first day when they come see a motorcycle.
Well, it's because you got to go home and then tell the wife, like, I'm ready to buy a motorcycle,
yeah.
right?
And I'm sure, he probably had to go talk to the wife, but he texted me the next day and he's like, I really thought more about the street triple and that's what I'm going to get instead. But thanks for your time. And I'm like, I probably shouldn't have sold him on something I don't have for sale. Like I convinced him to get this other thing because I love it so much. And that negotiation, like I just shot myself, not even in the foot. That was the face. That was terrible.
Brutal. No, but I think there's something to be said for that. Like taking this back to, brands or businesses or people that are providing a service, right? Again, maybe this is naive. Maybe it's the opposite of naive. Maybe it's like, it's idyllic, right? Like I'm like, this would be perfect if everyone could just do this. If you genuinely believe though, that you're selling the inferior product,
mm-hmm.
I do think that's going to be hard, right?
Yeah.
And you need to focus. So coming back to, okay, how can we get better at like marketing, right? Unless you truly believe you're trying to scam people, there is something about what you're selling or something about what you're providing that is actually bringing value to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That could be the price point, right? We talk about, lower price usually means lower quality, right? That doesn't mean it's bad because sometimes people genuinely can't afford the nicer thing and they know they're getting something for cheaper.
Or they don't need the extra features.
That's right. It's why you go to Walmart, right? You're like, I just need sandals. I don't need like designer magic things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, unless you're intentionally trying to scam people, there is always value in what you're providing. The trick comes in making sure that value is what people are looking for, right? In this guy's case, again, maybe you shot yourself in the foot a little bit by being like, hey, the thing you really want is actually this other thing, right? But what that just informed was the thing that he really wanted was
the other thing.
It was the other bike.
I would have preferred if he bought mine, but
that's the thing. Like obviously, that's a loss for you in that point. Did you end up selling that bike to somebody else?
It's upstairs.
Never mind. But the idea would be, I guess, in theory, right? And again, I'm willing to admit that this is mostly theoretical at this point, but that bike, as opposed to, and I'm not as familiar, so I apologize. Is it the Street Triple?
Yeah, Ducati Monster and Street Triple. Street Triple's the better one, in my opinion.
In your opinion,
yeah.
Is there any why would someone get a Ducati Monster over the Street Triple?
It is faster, but it's also heavier, and I prefer a lighter bike, even if it's a little bit slower.
So there you go. So then now we're talking about like what you prefer versus somebody out there would absolutely prefer the faster bike, even if it is heavier.
Yeah.
Right. That's the assumption we're operating within, right? So marketing then becomes, how can I reach that person and express to them, hey, the thing that you're looking for, the absolute, like just speed over anything else, that is this solution. This is what I'm trying to offer you, right?
Yeah.
And that's easier said than done. It's kind of tricky because then you start talking about like, well, how do you reach those people and how do you find them and how can you effectively communicate that and not take 90 minutes in a podcast to explain that to someone, right? Like this is like, how can we do this effectively? All of those are the elements of marketing that are so fascinating and of which I still have a lot to learn. But first starting with like understanding, okay, in order for me to sell this, I need to understand what's important to this person. And if we align, that's going to be an easy sale and we're going to succeed. And at that point, I can probably charge a premium price, bringing about the price point thing, right? Because I am solving their exact problem in a way that's going to work well.
And you prefer to do it that way, right? Like solve their exact problem exactly rather than this mostly fits. And so we'll make the sale.
That's a good question. That's a really good question. If it's my preference, I'm probably going to say yes, right?
Sometimes you got to meet budget.
Sometimes sometimes you're like, look, we got to make it happen.
Then you bring ethics into it. And I'm like, well,
it's
not our job to sell them on the competition that maybe is a better fit for their specific use case. But
so Miracle on 94th Street? Is it 94th Street? 54th Street? The Christmas one. The old 34th? One, 34th Street?
I don't know.
The Miracle on the Street. You know, I'm like really drawing a blank on all of the names I'm trying to reference. That movie where, if you're familiar, Santa, it's like real Santa, right? And he's like being a mall Santa. And people are bringing their kids and they're setting them on their lap. And they're like, I want this thing. And he's like, oh yeah, we don't sell that. But down the road, because he's at Sears, he's the Sears Santa. He's like, down the road at that other store, they sell it. And the manager finds out that he's doing this and is going to chew him out. And then the mom stops him and is like, who would have ever thought that Sears would have a Santa that's going to point me to exactly what I need if they can't do it? I'm shopping here forever. You guys are amazing, right? And she leaves. And he's like, wait a second. And so they like, they figure that out and they start. Obviously, that's a movie, but I think there's some value there, right? Like, again, I'm sure everyone is allowed to reach out to me. I will talk to you about this in detail if we need to just discuss it and like flesh it out. I'm willing to be wrong. But I think that there is something to be said there in the pursuit of like a brand, right? If I believe that this, especially if it's like a personal brand or like a brand, genuinely has my best interest at heart and does so consistently, that goes a really long way of building that trust, building that confidence. And I think over time, you'll see that produce good results. That's why for my day job, like we really don't require contracts for our service. Because it's like, if our service isn't working, you're not happy, we're not happy. Let's split ways. Like that's not going to happen. We have clients that have been with us for years without contracts, right? Because they consistently get what they need. And I think that's a higher way of doing it. I think
it's slower though, right? Like that.
I'm going to say yes.
The store
and
example.
No.
The lady's like, "Oh, I will shop here forever." Like, well, you didn't shop here today. Like today, you're going to the store down the street.
It's a totally fair point. Not to, I mean, if we're relying on the movie for inspiration, the next scene is the store bustling with people because they're like, these guys are so great. Let's all bring our friends, right? So I mean, you could say that, right? You could say, is the short term loss worth the long term gain? It could be. The sales bros are going to lynch me and be like, no, always be closing.
Yeah,
I don't know. I could
always
be wrong.
be closing.
I could be wrong. Again, I am more of a. I probably lack the teeth to be an exceptional, like world-ending salesperson, to be totally honest. Because I think at the end of the day, I am a little bit of that idyllic, like everyone can win. We can all get along. And if you are selling something that is truly valuable, it's really a question of like finding those people that need that value.
Yeah.
And connecting them.
Yeah. I think that's one reason why I did not crush it when I was doing financial planning, because it was more salesy, at least at this firm. And I did not believe that the products that we were selling were actually for everybody. They're for somebody, but they're not for everybody. Yeah. Which was not what we were being told. They were saying everybody needs this, push it to everybody, and push these more expensive products to everybody. Focus on those. And so it was difficult for me to like really get passionate about it because, I'm all over the ethics spectrum depending on the question. But, on this one, I was very passionate that like, financial planning, like I don't want to ruin people's lives with financial products that they don't need and like they can't actually utilize the benefits of. So it was difficult for me to do well. And like I said, I'm all over the ethics spectrum. Like, well, in this case, it doesn't really matter. Like a car's a car, whatever, different vehicles, a bike's a bike.
Man, yeah.
It's not like, their personal finances, like those really matter. But that's a gray area. I don't know that anyone has the right answer on the ethics. I mean,
we're getting real deep on that because that's, I think the question, it sounds like the core of the question is, if you prioritize ethics, do you actually win in the long run? Right? Because like,
kind of what we're dancing around. Yeah.
It seems to be kind of like, because to your point, I don't think the answer to the question of, is ethics good? Like, I don't think.
Is ethics good? Yeah.
Is it better to be ethical? Like
probably, yes.
Probably,
right?
Like, do we want to debate that, right? So the question then kind of becomes, okay, specifically for like brands and stuff, like, do you win in the long run if you prioritize like treating your customers ethically over winning at any cost, right? Again, I'm phrasing that in a way that kind of seems to reveal like, I feel like yes, right? And I'll back that up with the story though, which is, so again, while I was going to school, before I got into marketing. So when you ask me like, have all I ever done is marketing sales? Short answer, kind of yeah. While I was going to school, prior to getting into agencies, I did work at Mountain America Credit Union.
Yeah, the banks.
Yeah, so I was a loan officer at Mountain America Credit Union specifically. I had some other experiences at some other institutions before that, but I spent most of my time there. I truly believe while I was there, I can't speak to like what they do now, but I still bank there. I truly believe that they actually put their members' needs first.
Mm-hmm.
Almost always. Like in every interaction that I had, I tried to fulfill that. And the way they had their product set up and the way that they incentivized us as loan officers, like everything seemed to be aligned with that goal.
Yeah.
And they've done really well, right? Like they've grown radically. Like, I don't know how many of you are like really into the credit union scene, but their growth compared to other institutions in the country it's been radical. It was radical while I was there. We were consistently breaking all kinds of records for like loans generated. And like, we had a thing called like rescued loans where we would like lower people's rates and like help them save money actively. Right.
I have not heard of a bank doing that. That's crazy.
It just, everyone wins. Like,
yeah.
I mean, not everyone. Wells Fargo lost because we refinanced all their loans. Right. But it was like, we won because we won business. Right? Like we brought the loans in, the customers, the clients won, or the members, I'm losing all my terminology here. The members won because they got their loans at a cheaper rate and like everybody won. And like when we prioritized that type of attitude and like actively putting them first, we did really well. And there were instances, I can think of specific examples where people it's like, I really want to rescue this loan. I really want to refinance this loan, but it just doesn't make sense. I just can't. And I could convince them. Like I could wave some numbers and do some magic calculating and extend the term. And like we could make it look better.
Yeah.
Right?
Payments are going to be lower. And like,
totally. It's like,
all some people care about.
Totally. Used car salesman, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I can think of specific examples where it was like, hey, I can't touch this. It's better off staying with GM Financial because they gave you a 0.5% interest rate, right?
Yeah.
Like it's amazing. And those people were like, I'm grateful. And they would use us for every other service. And someday that loan will disappear and they will still be banking with Mountain America, right? Mm-hmm. And so, again, I'm going to officially say my stance is if you can do it consistently enough and if it can still make sure that your business grows and you can still, it's not sacrificing yourself for their benefit, but it's like if everyone can win, right? You can charge enough to provide a good service, to continue to provide a good service, to continue to solve the problem. All of those things as givens, you will win in the long run if you prioritize being ethical in the way that you interact with people. I think I could say that. And I think that history has probably proven that that's correct. I think the businesses that don't prioritize that tend to end up falling at some point.
Yeah.
Right.
And to tie it all together, that becomes their brand. We take care of our people.
Dude, that was beautiful. Yes. Yeah. To tie that all together. Like, again, I think of Wells Fargo. Nothing against Wells Fargo necessarily.
Things against Wells Fargo.
Well,
for
okay,
sure.
never mind. So things against. I have no personal interaction.
I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but
you're like, so I will say
they break the law every other year, and they're like, again, "Oh no!"
When you say Wells Fargo, what do you think about? And it's like that's what I think about. I think about them opening accounts for people that they don't know about, like all of these things. That's their brand.
Yeah,
that's what people interpret them. That's what people talk about when they're not around, right? Whether that's true. Seems to be.
I mean, they were convicted.
Whether that's still true, and then again, the counterpoint could be like, well, Wells Fargo's still a company. They're still around, for sure. Did they grow? Have they grown as much? Like, have they lost have they lost money because of this? Absolutely. Like they have paid the price, I think, in multiple ways. And yeah, I think that it mostly holds true. And if it doesn't, life's not fair always. I'd rather be on the side of feeling good about what I do at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy for me to say that because I don't have any money, but money's not important. It's not the most important thing.
It's not the most important. It's sometimes important, but not the most important.
No. Yeah. There you go. There's my stance.
All right.
I will fight people.
That's what I came here for.
Let's do it.
That's what I came to my house for.
I love it. You did move here. So yeah. Let's set this up. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, McKay, I really appreciate you coming on.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you for coming all the way from Oklahoma just to do this podcast in person.
So do I hold the record then for the longest travel to come here?
I'm not going to shout out where he lives, but Caleb had a commute to come over here.
It's true.
Caleb Whittle. But yes.
But still in Utah.
Yeah, still in Utah.
Right? Yeah. Okay. Well, let me know if that gets broken. I'll move to Hawaii and then still come back and we'll do another episode because
we'll do a part 2.
I want to retain that title.
So if people want to argue about brand or something else, how can they reach out to you?
I'm not big on LinkedIn, but I'm on LinkedIn a lot. So like reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way. Like talk to me about branding, talk to me about like messaging, like building a brand, also just like communicating, salesmanship, everything within that umbrella I'm really comfortable with it. And I love working on that kind of stuff with people.
Yeah.
It's highly fulfilling.
Awesome.
For sure.
Okay. Well, I'll put your contact info in the description. And McKay Savage, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on. And thanks for introducing me to the cool new studio. It's been amazing.
Guest number 2 in here.
Oof.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure we could cut it off of that last thing.
How many more of these? We'll get there.
Well, here, not that I think what I'm going to say is important, but I'll just put this on the mic. So, like, there was a point where I thought I had a really cool opportunity that I was going to go for, and then it did not manifest like what it was supposed to be. Like the day I quit my job, I was like, here we go, let's do it. And then I realized it was not what I thought it was. And so that day I had been sick, and so I hadn't slept at all. And so I was running on like, I had been awake for like 48 hours. I quit my job. The job that I was going into, this cool, great opportunity, ended up being nothing. My daughter that night was hospitalized in the ICU with super intense like pneumonia. And, and we had been traveling, and like all of us were like super sick, and like my daughter was hospitalized. Anyway, so then because she was hospitalized, I stayed up all night with her so my wife could sleep because she had also not been sleeping very well. Yeah. So that Saturday rolls around. I've been awake for 72 hours. I am jobless. My child is dying. And I was just like losing my mind because I was like a failure at pretty much everything you could think of, right? It's like, can't even keep my kid alive. I don't have a job. Like what? It was horrendous, right? And the worst part about that story is the fact that a year later, with everything that happened, like with our rentals and like all these things and these people, and that was literally not even like rock bottom yet. Like that was like the beginning of rock bottom for us. And again, we've mentioned this, we mentioned it a handful of times on the actual thing, and I know we talked about it before, but like we were functionally homeless when we decided to just like lean into it and try to make the best of it. But what that taught us when we like rolled into Seattle and we abandoned Utah and we like got to this condo and we walk in and there's one bed and I have 2 kids that are going to sleep on the floor. And we just realized like, okay, as long as we stay alive and we just don't give up, basically, everything else is going to be okay. Yeah. And it's going to work out. And it is wild how hitting that point really changed my perspective on how important all these things are. And in some ways I regret it because I used to have like all of this hustle to like grind and build and like do all this kind of stuff. And I still feel that, but it comes from a place of I want to create, not a place of I need to or I am a failure. Yeah. Right? Because I learned that like genuinely you cannot be a failure if you just stay alive and you just don't give up. Like period. And so I don't know, that felt pretty heavy. It's probably because we've been talking for so long that now I'm like digging into like all of the like here we go. The worst parts of our lives right now. But again, I say that to say like I think what you're doing is really cool. And you have my respect for doing it. Even if this isn't gonna like reach 50 million people and like Joe Rogan's gonna be like, come on my podcast, talk to me about how to have a podcast, right? Like that won't happen. It may not happen today, right? Not today. But I applaud you for continuing to try. And I think there's a lot of value in there. And I see that. And I just wanted to tell you that. So there you go.
I really appreciate that.
Take it.